Bryan, you're no stranger to Carlow, born and bred there. Tell us a bit, Bryan, about what it's like coming back to your own town for what we can describe as a directorial debut.
Oh, right, yeah, no, it's fantastic, it's brilliant. I've been saying to a lot of people, I think I was very lucky when I was growing up in Carlow. I was able to find pockets and spaces to do theatre in. There was my secondary school did the school plays, and there was a period where there was a Goodwill theatre being run by the O'Malleys and the Camps. So there was just a place to kind of find it, but nowhere where you could actually go see a professional show in Carlow. So there was no idea in my head of what that was. Now the Little Theatre had a great reputation, and the Donald Music Theatre, and the reputation is still very strong. So I knew even quite young I was going to have to go home, or not go home, I was going to have to leave home to get access to that. And thinking that I would leave home and stay gone. So I can't find the words to express how privileged I feel to get to come home to Carlow with a new theatre and with a show that we're really, really proud of, you know. I've directed stuff in Carlow in secondary schools, and I've worked with individuals on different pieces, but this is something I suppose I very proudly put my name to as part of the Fringe Festival in Dublin last year, and I'm amazed and delighted at how far it's gone, and at the same time I really believe in the piece. So I'm really excited about that night in Carlow, because we get to bring a cracking play to our new theatre. My family and friends get to be there, but also the punters who would go see a show get to go along and see something pretty special, I think. So I'm really excited about the night. I think it'll be great crack.
And Aonghus, you come from a lineage of actors that are well known.
Yeah, this is true. It's you know, part of the Fight Night stories. This guy's a third generation fighter, and his brother had been an Olympian, and his grandfather had gone to the Olympics, and his father was an Irish champ. So for me, obviously there's obvious parallels. I'm a third generation actor. My dad is obviously Aonghus McAnally, who people would know from TV and from radio. My grandfather was Ray McAnally, who won 3 BAFTA awards and would work with the likes of Robert De Niro and Sean Penn and Liam Neeson and all these guys. So yeah, it is the family business for me. I never really had any choice as to what I'd be doing for a living. So so I'm delighted. But interesting in terms of the family connection with my dad. My dad was in bands for many years with the Hennessy's from Carlow, with Ollie and Walter. So I practically grew up down in Carlow. So I'm delighted to be coming back, I have to say.
So it's a reunion of heads back to Carlow almost.
Absolutely, yeah.
Bryan, you were telling us earlier that Aonghus came to see a play that you did back in secondary school.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
It's a kind of a long relationship we have there.
It is, yeah, 10 years now. 10 years. I met him in college. I'd finished training, and then our movement teacher brought me back in as an assistant, and I ended up working on one of Aonghus's shows. So it's only a couple of years between us really, but it was a real buzz to come back and meet him and work with him, and we got on very well. And actually, around that time, you and Bryan Malarkey, one of the producers of this show, said we'd like to do theatre and we'd like you to direct us, like 10 years ago. Almost, I don't think as a joke, but in a kind of a off in the future. So it's brilliant that it's actually come to pass, that it's worked out, you know.
Also, that's not entirely the truth of the story. Bryan thinks our relationship goes back 10 years. In fact, it goes back 12 years to when he was in his final year up in Trinity training to be an actor, and I was still a schoolboy. And every Wednesday we would get a half day, and I would take the Dart into Trinity, and I would walk past the Beckett Centre where Bryan trained and where I subsequently trained, and I would just hang around outside while they would be rehearsing or practicing lines or whatever, just because I had gone to see all of their shows, and I was blown away by their talent in general as a group, and specifically with Bryan. And I looked at it and said, well, you know, if that course and that building can make me that good as an actor, then that's the only place I want to go. So I stalked him for many years before we ever got to work together.
But
that's not creepy at all.
No, not at all.
That's just respectful.
Yeah, it's good. Yeah, fantastic. But in saying that, I suppose, as Aonghus was talking about his family and his lineage and all that, I will say this, I think, you know, there's a transformative moment, I think, for a lot of different actors or artists at different points where they go, I'm going to go down this road now, I'm going to go down this road. And I feel like Aonghus is really the driving force behind Fight Night in terms of commissioning the writing, in terms of training as a fighter to do the play, all those things. And it was a real privilege for me to be at what I see very much as a turning point in Aonghus's acting career, where the perception of him as an actor has completely shifted now based on what he's achieved in the show. We don't want to give away too much before people see what he has to do in the show and everything, but that's one of the things I'm very excited about in terms of where he's coming from, where he's at now as an actor, and to be kind of going along for the ride on that's very exciting.
So Bryan, coming back to Carlow as a professional actor now, how important is it that Carlow would have and does have a very unique theatre in the George Bernard Shaw.
Oh, essential. Like, even the country is kind of going through a period of time now where, because things are so tough all over, the arts gets cut. The arts have to get rid of the arts, because it's seen as a luxury and it's seen as a mess or play or something that when you're in school seems like a DOS, but in fact it's the complete opposite. I think we need it more than ever. It's more important to have access to art, be it music, be it writing, be it sculpture, painting, but particularly theatre, I think, because you have that contact. Same, I think, at a good music gig and everything, but the reality of the human being, the interaction with the audience, all those things are vital. And I think I'm delighted the theatre's there, and I'm looking forward to seeing it becoming much more a part of the life in Carlow. You know, I mean, I live in Dublin, but I like to get home and be involved there as much as possible. So this is a great opportunity to keep those links. You know?
Yeah, and among the theatre community in Ireland in general, I don't think you'll have anyone disagree with the fact that the George Bernard Shaw is the nicest theatre to play anywhere on the island of Ireland. I would think that's pretty much unanimous. Yeah. Not only because the facilities are so good, because the space is so good, because the team there are so great, but it was absolutely the number one must-have date on the tour for us. I mean, we're touring to 17 different venues on this tour with Fight Night, and for me, from day one, absolutely number one priority was getting back to the GB Shaw, because I had the privilege of playing there last year with Slattery's Sego Saga, with Performance Corporation, and I was blown away by it. Absolutely delighted to get back. It was number one on the list.
So I guess with Fight Night, you're the third generation boxer.
Yeah.
You're under pressure because of the fame that has gone ahead of you. What was it like working with a new director for such a big performance?
Well, I mean, I knew from day one that there was only one person I could get to direct this show, and that was Bryan Burroughs. I went to him directly. He was my first choice. He was my only choice. I mean, he is widely regarded as the go-to guy for physical theatre in Ireland. And that's kind of a perception that's out there, and it's accurate, but also I know him as an actor, as an award-winning actor, and as a performer in his own right, and I knew that the combination of his understanding of how to create the physicality of the play, but also how he understands the performer's, I don't want to use the word journey, but I'm going to say journey, the performer's journey through that show. I knew he was the only man for the job, and I think it probably happened 3 or 4 times a week where I would stop in the middle of rehearsals and just go, I knew you were the only man for this job, but genuinely every day I was astonished at just how perfect he was. His understanding, in fact I have to say for the whole team around Fight Night, there are things, the Fight Night piece is written by Gavin Costick but based on an original unfinished play by me, and there is stuff in Gavin Costick's text that was in my original script that I never mentioned to Gavin, that telepathically he included. And there's something about the team that we created to make Fight Night, which is that there is that kind of a shared understanding, a kind of a shorthand that we don't need to tell everybody explicitly. Everything, we were all just on the same page from day one. I have been blown away by the support from him. He is the best in the business as far as I'm concerned, and honoured and privileged to have him as part of it. He was my number one choice, and he didn't let me down. He was fab.
So for an actor, Aonghus, acting being a very personal and emotional trip into a character's mind, was it much easier to work with a director that has a very strong background in acting?
Yeah, absolutely, because of his understanding of the process, because there was also no ego involved. It wasn't about, well, this is the way I would do it, or I think you should do it like this. It was always about facilitating me discovering what it was to play Dan Coyle Jr. and to go on to kind of find that character as we went through the rehearsals. And it's interesting how the show has grown over the past year. I mean, it's nearly a year we're doing it now. And over the space of that year, like Dan Coyle Jr., I've had a child, and so you get through that first year with the new baby. And also through going through the training as well that I've gone through over the last year, the understanding of it has deepened an awful lot. It's been an interesting experience to see how it's grown over that time.